You were born into a broken world, and somewhere deep inside you, something sacred refused to break with it. Maybe it happened the first time you loved someone who couldn't love you back. Maybe it was the first time you told the truth and watched the room go cold. Maybe it was the day you realized the world rewards those who stop feeling first. Even then, even when you didn't have the words, you carried something the world could not teach and could not take. You didn't learn hope. You didn't inherit it. You were made of it now. You stood barefoot on cold ground, and you believed the sky itself was listening. You saw strangers and felt somehow that you belonged to them. You moved through the world with a heart so open it seemed inevitable it would one day be torn. James Hillman said, "Tell me what you yearn for, and I shall tell you who you are." Before you learned doubt, before you wore armor, your yearning had already named you. And then the betrayals began. You don't lose faith all at once. You lose it the way you lose the stars before dawn. Not by watching them disappear, but by realizing you can no longer find them. It happens quietly, invisibly, when you lower your hand instead of raising your voice, when you pretend you don't see what you see, when you smile at things you know should break your heart. The world will tell you this is growing up. It will call it wisdom. It will call it survival. But Carl Jung warned that the soul dies not from external blows, but from the slow betrayal of its own truth. The first time you silence your longing to fit in, the first time you trade your fire for belonging, the first time you convince yourself that numbness is peace. It feels small, harmless, necessary. But every time you silence that voice, every time you amputate another piece of yourself to survive, the gap between who you are and who you were meant to be grows wider. And the worst part is, no alarms sound. No one calls it a tragedy. They call it maturity. They congratulate you. You won't wake up in ruin. You'll wake up praised, promoted, smiling on the outside, and inside feel a silence so vast it could swallow you whole. Here's the brutal truth no one will tell you. If you protect your dream, you will suffer. If you surrender it, you will survive. But you will die inside. You won't notice the death all at once. It's quieter than that. It's in the way music stops moving you. It's in the way laughter starts to sound hollow. It's in the way you stop recognizing your own reflection. Albert Camus wrote, "In the middle of winter I at last discovered that there was in me an invincible summer." But he didn't find that summer by retreating into comfort. He found it by standing naked in the blizzard, refusing to lie to himself about the cold. And you are not here to be comfortable. You are not here to forget. You are here to remember. To carry the flame through a world desperate to convince you there is no fire left. The world you dreamed of may never arrive, but the world you carry inside you, that invincible summer, is real. And it will survive or die by the choices you make now. You were not made for easy victories. You were made for impossible hope. And even when your hands tremble from carrying it, even when your voice shakes from defending it, even when every part of you aches from believing, you are still doing the sacred work. Because without dreamers like you, the world forgets how to dream at all. There's a war inside you that no one else can see. No banners, no battle cries. Just the silent battlefield where your future self is decided moment by moment, in choices so small the world doesn't even notice. On one side stands the dream you were born carrying, battered, gasping, but still alive. On the other stands the cold voice of survival, whispering promises of safety if you would just set the dream down and walk away. The world will not call it surrender. It will call it wisdom. It will call it maturity. It will say you're finally growing up, but you will know. You can survive without your dream. You can build a life that looks full from the outside. You can smile, succeed, even love, while something sacred inside you quietly dies, and you will call it normal. Because that's what they taught you survival sounds like: silence. Carl Jung said that true transformation only happens when we hold the unbearable tension, without escaping into illusion and without collapsing into despair. Most people don't survive that tension. They fold themselves smaller, they trade their fire for comfort and call it acceptance. But some refuse to forget. Some let the wound stay open long enough for it to grow into something deeper than pain. Some refuse to become efficient corpses. Because here is the brutal truth the world won't tell you. Most people don't notice when their soul dies. They just call it growing up. But you don't lose yourself in one grand betrayal. You lose yourself drip by drip. You agree to things you don't believe in. You laugh at things that don't move you. You wake up every day a little heavier, a little hollower, until you forget there was ever anything different. And the worst part is, you survive it. You adapt so well to the silence that you start to think it was always supposed to be this way. But you weren't born for numbness. You weren't born to trade your flame for shelter. You were born to endure the loneliness of remembering a world that once was and still could be. You were born to suffer, yes, but not pointlessly. You were born to let that suffering turn you into the living proof that hope can survive anything. You fight this silent war not because you expect easy victories. You fight it because if you don't, the dream dies with you. And if the dream dies, so does the world's last chance to remember it ever lived. It's easy to believe you are alone, that no one else has carried a light through this kind of darkness. But history, if you listen carefully, tells another story. It tells of those who chose to suffer rather than betray the dream. It tells of those who believed, not because it was smart, not because it was safe, but because they could not live with themselves if they did not. Freddie Oversteegen was just a girl when she decided silence was a greater danger than violence. She hid a pistol in her bicycle basket. She rode into the woods with collaborators who never returned. She chose over and over the terrifying path of doing what her soul could not abandon. Not because she was certain she would win, not because she thought it would be enough, but because she understood the price of doing nothing would be higher than the price of bleeding for what was right. Across an ocean and a frozen wasteland, in a nameless Siberian village, another battle was fought. An orphaned boy and his grandmother, facing the wrath of the Master of Fire, stood their ground against an enemy no one else dared to name. The old woman sang the ancient songs into the bones of their earth, refusing to let the last remnants of home be devoured. She did not fight with weapons. She fought with memory, with belief, with the sheer, stubborn refusal to forget what mattered. They won no medals. They built no monuments. But they did something even rarer. They endured. They carried the flame through winters the world thought would kill them. And because they endured, something sacred survived. Not in headlines, not in books, but in the invisible architecture of hope that still stands today. You are not alone in your struggle. You are not foolish for carrying a dream that no one else sees. You are not broken for believing in a beauty this world seems determined to forget. You are part of a lineage so ancient it does not need history books to validate it. It lives in the blood, in the silent defiance of every soul who chose pain over numbness, faith over convenience, love over fear. The world will not remember you the way it remembers its conquerors, but it will still breathe because of you. The future will still flicker, trembling and bright, because somewhere, someone, you, chose to carry the fire a few steps further. And now it's your turn, not to be celebrated, not to be safe, but to remember, to carry, to endure. Because if you don't, the light dies here. And if it dies here, it may not come back again. You are not suffering because you were wrong to believe. You are suffering because your soul refuses to shrink into the shape the world demands. You are suffering because you have stayed alive where others chose to go numb. In a world that calls survival strength, your tenderness is rebellion. And your pain, the ache that wraps itself around your ribs in the quiet moments, is not a failure. It's a signal. It's proof that the flame you carry is still burning, even when it costs you everything. Carl Jung said that when the soul holds the unbearable tension between the dream and the cold reality, it creates something new, not by escaping, not by surrendering, but by standing in the fire until the fire reshapes you. It's not the strong who survive with their souls intact. It's the willing, the ones who choose to hurt without hardening, the ones who dare to grieve without closing, the ones who let sorrow break them open instead of break them down. Most people are terrified of that transformation. They'll do anything to avoid it. They'll numb it, mock it, drown it. But you, even through every crack and scar, have carried the wound honestly. That honesty, brutal and sacred, is what turns suffering into power. You think your tears mean you are losing. You think your loneliness means you have failed. You think the exhaustion means you are broken. But the truth is simpler, harder, and more beautiful. The dream inside you is surviving because you have been willing to bleed for it. You are not collapsing, you are becoming. Every night you endured when you wanted to quit, every tear you wept when no one was watching, every time you chose to believe again in the face of despair, it has been forging you into someone this world needs and does not even know it. You don't just carry a dream anymore, you are becoming the dream. You are the proof that a soul can survive the cold, that belief can outlast betrayal, that the sacred can be wounded and still shine brighter after. The pain you feel is not punishment, it is initiation. You are not being broken apart. You are being broken open. You are becoming the bridge between what the world is and what it could still be, if even a handful of us dare to keep carrying the impossible forward. You are not failing because you hurt. You are failing only if you forget why you began. Because the dream isn't just something you protect. The dream is something that even now is protecting you. There will be nights so long you forget what daylight ever felt like. There will be moments when you wonder if you imagined the whole thing, the beauty you glimpsed, the world you believed in, the love you thought could save us all. You will be tempted to believe that hope was a childhood illusion, that the ache in your chest is a weakness, that the dream is gone and you are foolish for missing it. But listen to me. The dream remembers you. It remembers the first time you spoke when it would have been safer to stay silent. It remembers the moment you chose kindness even when cruelty was easier. It remembers the night you stood alone, afraid and breaking, and still refused to surrender. Even when you forget it, it is holding on to you. Even when you curse it for hurting so much, it is loving you anyway. Even when you call yourself a fool for believing, the dream is still calling you home. Because you were not chosen to carry it because you were flawless. You were chosen because you would hurt and still choose to hope. You were chosen because you would break and still choose to build. You were chosen because somewhere deep inside you, a summer survived even the longest winter. The world does not need more survivors. It does not need more cleverness or cruelty or cold ambition. It needs more fools who will stand barefoot in the ruins and still sing about tomorrow. It needs more broken-hearted warriors who refuse to stop loving a world that cannot love them back the way they deserve. It needs you, not perfect, not fearless, just willing. Carry the dream trembling, carry it scarred, carry it limping if you must. Carry it when your hands shake, when your knees buckle, when your voice cracks. Carry it when no one sees you. Carry it when everyone laughs at you. Carry it when you're the only one left who remembers how it once felt to believe. Carry it because someone you will never meet is waiting for a courage they don't even know exists yet. A courage that only you can give. Even if you falter, the dream remembers you. Even if you fall, the flame will wait for you. And you are not broken because you cared. You are sacred because you did. And if you carry it one more step, one more hour, one more impossible day, you will have done enough, more than enough. Because in a world like this, to keep believing even once is a kind of victory that echoes forever. You're not alone in this. If this felt like your story too, stay with us and help us keep the dream alive. And if this also spoke to something you still carry, share it. Somewhere someone else is still carrying it too.